Are you ready to close out 2024 with clarity and purpose so you can step boldly into 2025? I'm Patti Hunt, and you're listening to the RV Life Podcast. Today's expert guest will help us reflect on the highs and lows of 2024. We'll dive into the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the moments of gratitude that shaped the year, helping us close out 2024 with clarity and purpose. The RV Life Podcast was created to educate, entertain, and explore the RV lifestyle. It is my mission to inspire you to live life to the fullest. This week on What You Need to Know, brought to you by Open Road Resorts. They have amazing locations in Montana, Idaho, Nebraska, New Mexico, and 2 great locations in Texas. If you're looking for a place to winter for a couple of days or several months, their 2 locations in Texas is the place to go. And they are offering you, my listeners, 25% off stays of 2 nights or more. This is good for the 2025 season at any of their parks. 25% off is valid until January 31st, 2025. Use code RVLife25. This is case sensitive. Now, if you want to give them a call, also mention the RV Life Podcast to get that discount. And of course, there are certain blackout dates that apply. What you need to know. One of the largest RV shows, the Florida RV Super Show in Tampa, is just 3 weeks away. It is from January 15th to the 19th, and I will be there all week. It is for people who are looking at RVs. So if you're looking to buy an RV, you want to check out manufacturers, you want to check out dealerships, this is the place to go. But if you're not looking for an RV, there's going to be hundreds of vendors with products and services, campgrounds. Everybody who has products or services will be in Tampa, including RV Life. RV Life will have a booth. They are downstairs and we'll have a booth to go check them out. If you're not looking for an RV, you can also check out the seminars. My favorite part of these events is community. So there will be a lot of meet and greets. There will be lots of RVers to meet and hang out with. So I highly recommend this event. They are offering this year free tram service and shuttle service. You could check all that out on their website. This, What You Need to Know, is brought to you by Open Road Resorts. You could go to the link in the show notes or go to openroadresorts.com. My guest today, Joe Fier, is a successful content marketer and podcast host of Hustle and Flowchart Podcast. It is in the top 1% of podcasts globally, where he provides advice to entrepreneurs on how to work smarter and live better. He has hosted over 600 podcast episodes where he interviews top experts and authors in various fields, such as business and personal development. In his podcasts and talks, Joe consistently connects with an approach to helping others, advocating for actionable steps that inspire transformation. He views these small wins as a ripple effect, impacting not only individuals, but the communities they engage with, fostering a fuller and more joyful way of life. Joe Fier, welcome to the RV Life Podcast.
Thank you, Patti. It's good to be back.
Yes, you're back for a second time. We have had so many amazing conversations, things that we've talked about that have been helpful to me. And I knew I had to have you back on to talk again to my listeners. This is a 2-part series. So today, which is just days before actual Christmas, the holiday season. So we're going to talk about how we're going to end 2024 on the right foot, so to speak. And part 2, which will be next week, the first day of January. We're going to talk about setting up for 2025 with great intention. So I am so excited. I want my listeners to hear more about you. What's your story?
Oh, my story. That's a
Yes.
deep one. I forgot even what I said in the last episode, to be honest. But
That's okay. For somebody who hasn't heard you.
yeah, it's a perfect opportunity. So I now have, so I'm 39 years old. Gray hair is deceiving a little bit. Thank you, genetics. And yeah, but I felt like I've had many lives within my life. I've been an entrepreneur doing my own thing online. I guess I'll start there for like 17-ish years. Basically, like right after I completed university, got married pretty much at the same time within like a month or two, quit my corporate job and said, I don't trust the big company thing. Like, and I want more freedom for myself and my family. Had a bigger vision than going to an office every day and feeling like a zombie. I saw the people around me there at their desks. And I was like, not for me. So, which was nice because it was 2 months later, the company folded. It was actually a big corporation in the construction industry. My mom and all these other people thought I was crazy, but I was like, no, I'm a psychic. No, I didn't think that. I was like, you know what? I see a different course for myself. And it was before it was super trendy to work at home or, to do the side hustle thing and all that. But I figured it out and have built, I had a good friend, still have a good friend, my buddy Matt Wolf, who still to this day, he's doing some other stuff. We've been partners, but essentially it was nice because I had a little support staff there, in him to kind of learn online. And we both jumped in around the same time together. Fast forwarding, I've just had so many different businesses or focuses. I see things as projects. I'll just say that. So, that's led me down to meeting interesting people, working with all sorts of companies on, it's kind of now shaped into advising them into how to leverage things like content marketing, podcast, media, AI now, and how to essentially get more time back for everyone involved. It doesn't mean like, hey, AI is going to replace everybody, so get rid of everybody, because it's like, no. We're empowering everybody. I see it as that frame, and how we're living in really crazy, interesting times in a bunch of ways. But I feel like my background it's like a mix of people, a lot of relationship. I've always seen things that way, at least in the business side, and then media and marketing and sales. But I guess on the personal side, I have 2 daughters. I have 1 wife.
Okay.
I had to specify one wife,
Yes.
No. First time I've said it that way. I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old daughter. So
Wow.
life is full and I'm not getting much sleep these days, but I still get up early in the morning to do my jujitsu and workouts. And like, it's all these things that keep me kind of sane and here and present. So
and that's
I can go further, but yeah.
Right. And I want people to get a feel for who you are. When I have a guest on, we talk about their background, their profession, but I want people to get a feel for who you are. You're trying to manage a business, your life, your wife, kids, no sleep. I can relate to that totally. That's a lot of what this episode is about. You touched on AI, which we're going to talk about in next week's episode. So people should stay with us because we can go down that road, whether AI scares people to death or they're embracing it, having fun with it, enjoying it, or anything in between. We're going to talk a lot about that in the next episode of 2025. What's coming? How do I prepare for it? What do I do to make it a great year?
That's right.
So let's look at 2024, because for so many people at this time of year, I hear people say, oh, I can't wait till this year's over. It was a tough year. Or, I want it done with, as if magically 2025 is going to just all of a sudden magically be different. And, as you're talking, and you're talking mostly about the things you've been through and successes, your podcast is in the top 1% globally. That's amazing. But I'm sure there's the challenges, right? And we have to be able to talk about that. So you and I have done a lot of conversation. I swear, if we didn't have limits, we'd be on the phone or communicating. We
Absolutely.
just, there's so much there. So I decided that having my listeners be able to hear some of the stuff that we talk about would be beneficial. So let's talk about coming to the end of 2024. This episode is being recorded just days before it actually airs, which is unusual, but it is. And so you and I are both thinking about 2024 and ending the ending. What is the big thing that you do at this time of year?
For me, it's well, you kind of spurred it on a little earlier, which is reflecting, which is great. So I'm happy that you invited me in because it got me to really sit back and think about, yeah, what are the lessons learned, the things that worked that didn't, and then what should I do next? I feel like that those three questions, that's how I like to cycle through it, and simple. And I just for me, it's it's going outside, it's getting out of my office, out of the house, and usually shove my feet in some dirt. That's what I what I did this morning. Did some breath work and just sat in the sun and then literally rambled my thoughts out into my phone. So yeah, for me, I want to say it's a slow down period, but I feel like I don't know. I can't really get the slow down completely because of the life I have around me, which is fine. I find these little pockets of time to slow down, but it's definitely, even though, yeah, sure, come January 1st, it's another day. Let's not sugarcoat it, but it's a label, yes, it's a new year, a new month, new you. I don't know about that. But
Right.
but you sure as heck, it's an opportunity, how I see it, as like, okay, we do have this common thing that we all say, okay, it's a fresh year, it's a new beginning. Sure, it is. So let's lean into it, So I try to be a realist about like, cool, yeah, I've experienced a lot of, negative, let's label them, but I try to not frame it and keep it there. I want to be like, okay, what can I learn from any of this stuff from this years past, and let's quickly build past it, because I'm not one to dwell on things. I've never really done that. Certain things might be a hiccup here and there, but I'm like, I got to figure out a solution, at least like move past or ask for help.
Right.
That's kind of what I do, I'd say.
You kind of glossed over some of the things that you do and so the teacher, me, some of my listeners know I was a teacher for 20 years. So there were people that, kids in the class that you just said something quickly, they got it. I like to break things down. So I want to give actual things. You put a lot out there that I want to break down. For me, as I end the year, reflection. So looking back, we could think of, well, I used to look back and think of all the bad things that happen. I don't see them as bad anymore. I see them as challenges. And my belief is every challenge that I've had to go through, that I was able to get up from, look at, and learn from, has made me stronger. It's brought me to where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you alluded to, there is no going out in the sun because I am in Pennsylvania.
True.
And like
I'm in San Diego, so there you go. No
right,
preface.
a little different. So it's been in the 30s, but
yeah.
it's cold. Yeah, today it's rainy. But to your point, taking that time, getting quiet. So for me, getting quiet. Like you, I'm busy. I have family, I have business, relationships, all these things going on. And so my brain is always working. And there is that learning to get quiet that in your brain. And sometimes for me, journaling. And we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah, you have a good practice. Yeah.
I
Go back
have.
to the previous episode to hear that,
Yeah,
though.
yes. I'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
And just to let people know, I've had a journal since I'm about 14. I used to really put a lot of pressure on myself, like, oh, I have to journal today and do it every single day. No pressure on yourself. I was away last week. Journaling didn't happen. I got back. I needed to just calm my mind, calm myself, settle, and I journaled. And that could be different things, different days. But I like what you're talking about is quieting yourself, journaling to reflect on 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, there have been a lot of challenges But what did I learn from that? So it is looking at those challenges. It's looking at the wins and talk a little bit. You said something about small wins. Talk a little bit about that because I think they get overlooked. So let's go
Yeah,
back, talk about what your practice looks like, break it down a little more for people,
sure.
because I think the biggest thing is reflecting on 2024 so we could move clean with a clean slate into 2025.
I'll talk about the like to slow myself down. I have a couple practices that I try to stay consistent with. And I feel like when I'm in that slower mind and body headspace, then I can get to the point of like, oh yeah, journaling or brain dumping. And sometimes I see journaling as opening the otter.ai app on my phone and just talking. And then it's more of a brain dump. My whole thing is I need to capture my thoughts because if I'm staying in the busy mode, then they're gonna just keep swirling around. And I'm not unloading those to make space for this kind of like this flash moment. This something will pop, and that's where I feel like the magic is. We all have it in us, but we need to create that space. So to slow down, I mentioned jujitsu earlier. That's a new thing this year for me. Just the last 6 months, I started that. And that is a practice of slowing down. Did it, I started it because of chilling out my nervous system. And literally, it's, I've never done any kind of combat or MMA or whatever this, wrestling type sport in my life ever. I've been a runner and like non-contact kind of guy. But when I'm getting literally choked out, before 7 a.m. multiple times per day, um, before I have my coffee,
No,
I,
nothing happened before coffee.
yeah, seriously,
No.
but that
Yeah.
does. and
Okay. Wow.
but
That's
it's a wake up call. But it's I don't know, in a weird way. And any of you who have done any kind of wrestling type activity or physical contact, you really feel different. Like it's this calming, this grounding, because it's literally. But we have it in us. Like I have a training dummy full of pillows and towels, and I get that similar feeling. So I think it's like it's in us. So we just got to find whatever that is that chills us out. Running, I mentioned that. I do weightlifting, things that just kind of like, okay, exert energy. And then going on a walk is also good. That's more slow, but that gets me to slow down enough to then, reflect. And I do that almost nightly. Also hop in the hot tub. It's nice. Now that's functional again. I built these things, Patty. I'm like,
right.
these things bring me happiness. I need them in
Yeah,
my life.
but that's the whole point here. And I
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about jujitsu because my daughter's boyfriend has a studio he owns now, and
Um,
I've learned about it. And just for people to understand, it's in my world, it is a full physical contact sport
absolutely. Yeah.
that you, the way he described it, you do not let go of the hold you have on that person until they tap out,
Hmm.
surrender, right?
Hmm.
That's what
Tap
they,
out. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, do.
Or
And
submit.
so
Yeah.
if submit, if
Yeah.
I'm misquoting the
You're
word,
fine. No, you got it.
and to me, that's extreme. And I guess the point I want to make, my listeners don't all have to go sign up for jujitsu. There are so many different ways. I'm more of a calmer, you know,
I
non-violent.
thought I was too.
Yes, yes, right. You okay? We'll talk again in a year from now, and I'll let you know if I've
Well, you
tried a
know what it is actually.
new class.
You know what it is? It's we all have a layer of, and sorry to cut you off, but this is actually why I did it is because I had someone else. I get massages. That's another way to slow down. Every now and
I
then. My
love that one.
yeah,
That
yeah.
works for me. That kind
This
of contact sport works.
that's cool. But she's special. She's like this intuitive, kind of picks up on these like little micro movements. And she was actually the one that told me, hey, you have like every time you move in this way, or, like I feel it in your back that you like spasm, you almost like tense up. She's like, a lot of men have this, but it's like there's this aggression actually that's kind of somewhere in our bodies. Like we're holding on to it. Maybe it's anger. It kind of shows up in different forms for us, but she was like, there are healthy ways to get it out that actually like gets it out rather than just stirs it around or leaves it. So it's to get whatever that is out, however it comes out. Could be sadness too. Like that's a form, like it's
Right.
okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think the big point here that we want the listeners to know, find those systems, those processes that work. And so maybe I'll try jujitsu. I'll go to my
Sure, you'd let you
daughter's
roll around.
yeah, let's see how that goes. I will report back on the show. I'm
Please
not
do.
sure. I'm hesitant to say this, but maybe I'll go try a class. And again, it is about being open to trying different things. I love the hot tub. I
Oh yeah.
love the masseuse. But there are times I just need a good cry. I use my journal to think things through, work things through, to vent, to brain dump, all of those things. And so the point that I think we're getting at here is, for the listener, find what works. They
Mhm.
should not try all of these things at once. Pick one thing, because what we're talking about is taking small steps.
Yep.
One of the things I know that happens, and we'll talk about this more in the next episode, when we look at setting goals, intentions, New Year's resolutions, we think of this big picture.
Mm.
And I think of it like, look up at a set of stairs and you're carrying something heavy and you're thinking, how am I getting this to the top of the step?
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, you could only do one step at a time. Focus on the step in front of you, one step at a time. And I use that for an analogy for everything in life. I just had somebody say, I said, I was feeling overwhelmed. I was away all week. I have a lot of catch up to do,
Mm.
feeling overwhelmed. And he said, how do you eat an elephant? One
Wow.
bite at a time.
Yeah.
And so those are good analogies for people that look at 2024. Here it is, the holidays. A lot of people are already overwhelmed. There's a lot of stress involved in this happy time of the year. And
Mhm.
so I think some of these are ways to get ourselves refocused, reflect on the past, refocus. So let's talk about so you're looking at your past. We both have challenges this past year. How do you suggest handling those? And I'm calling it challenges. Some people call it crappy situation, whatever words they use for it. Some people look at those horrible situations, health challenges, whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever they call it. I choose to call it challenges. What are some ways to get through them?
Yeah. I think you gotta slow down first, because if we keep in this frantic, or if we're trying to keep up with the pace that we feel like maybe we should be doing, at least give ourselves 5-10 minutes to sit down, wherever that could be, but find a place that seems just slower. And because we all adapt to our environments in a way that we might not be controlling, but we kind of just like, oh, or if it's hug your dog, pet your cat, like hug someone else. Like, literally, these are times where it's okay to just take time for yourself. Take a nap. Like, I do that. I mean, not a lot, but I'll just throw another technique, yoga nidra. Our producer Jacob, has tried that, and it's like a nice reset that you could go to YouTube. It takes 20 minutes, and
Right.
we all deserve that. We should be doing that unapologetically. Almost didn't say that right, but we're humans. We don't need to, feel like a lion's chasing us 24/7, even though that's what the world kind of is geared to do, with, our phones sending us notifications all the time, emails, feeling like we got to be on it because we're
Mhm.
working at home. So we have access to email and everybody pinging us. It's like, you know what? I turn that stuff off, at certain times of the days, or completely sometimes
Right.
on my phone. So yeah, you got to start with the slow down. I just can't harp that enough. And then it just kind of comes up with the natural, with like the journaling and talking things through, asking for help. I mean, they're all
Big
things in
one.
the moment. It's hard to
Yes.
do.
And
Yeah.
asking for help and challenges. I want to dive a little more into that.
Mhm.
Let me mention one of my great sponsors that I want to take a minute and mention, and that is Clear 2O. Safe drinking water is vital. I think my Philadelphia accent is coming out. I was born and raised in Philadelphia, and I left and I kind of let go of the accent, but it came back up there.
You always got
Um,
it. Yeah.
I am so happy to find Clear 2O because they have the ultimate water filtration system. They have inline water filters, single water filter, the dual water filter, triple canister. For my RVers, they have something for everyone. And that's what I'd like is there are all different types of systems. What I love best about this company is they take it to the next level of water filtration. Now they will be at the Florida RV show, Florida RV Super Show in Tampa in January. As I mentioned, they are offering 15% off when you use code RV Life Podcast at checkout. So absolutely check into Clear20 at clear20.com. And all of this will be in the show notes. So let's, challenges. It, as a lot of my listeners know, it has been an incredibly challenging year for me. And I think people look at those of us, you and I were on, you have a podcast that's in the top 1% globally. They look at us and think things look great, things look perfect, everything's perfect. And I'd like to share that there's not perfect because you and I have had to get through challenges. And so I like what you said about come up with what works for you. I also tried yoga. How do you say
Nidra.
it? Nidra. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to just take a break in the middle of the day. I am not one to take naps. I don't like
But
taking
you tried
naps.
it. It's
I
good.
tried it. I enjoy it. And it's great. I've done other meditations. And these are all things when people can find systems, try different things. I think that's a big thing of what we're here to share is different things that could work for different people. Don't try and do it all. My RV listeners, that they're either full-time, they're part-time, they're sometime. Some of my listeners right now I know are looking to go RVing, and thinking about how do I overcome the challenges. And I have people that unfortunately have had to put their RV in storage and they spend the winters, at their home base. So there's a different type of challenges sometimes. What I want to also look at is by focusing on the past, we could set up for what we want the future, the year to look at. And we'll dive more into that for next year. But let's talk about a lot of this is about personal development, mindset, call it what you want.
Mhm.
Talk about some of those things that have helped you to, that helped you with building your relationships, your business.
Yeah.
Everything that you've done is, that's probably where it starts, right?
That it is. And as I was reflecting on our call here, like what we're doing now is, this year I have a 1-year-old now, yeah, and a 5-year-old, but she just turned 1. So it's, technically born 2023, but this was the year where I was like, wow, okay, now I have 2 daughters and, running my business. My wife's also an entrepreneur. So she has her own, she also works alongside me in mine. So talk about challenges, like
Yeah.
love them. And, but very challenging. But we told ourselves, and I told myself like 10 plus years ago when we first tried to start having kids, because we had a whole journey, infertility, IVF, the whole nine. So that's a whole bag of challenges in itself. Did fostering as well. So it's like a lot of things that led me up to this point where I realized when I have both of my daughters, because we wanted 2, I'm going to be a present husband and father, and I want to be there and be deliberately there, not just like flying in here and there. Okay, gotta go, and go to work, or daddy's here just for dinner, and then you're going to sleep, and then bye, and then we're gonna start tomorrow again and not be around. So like that doesn't sound like a good life to me. So I chose very specifically, and that was a big thing this year that I put into practice is being deliberate with how I structure my days, knowing that I have these windows of time that I need to be very deliberate with and time block and put constraints on myself. Some of these, like Fridays, for instance, I have no calls at all that day. No one can book on my calendar. Usually Thursdays, I can't either because it's podcast recording day, but I'm not recording every Thursday. So it turns into no call Thursdays too, a lot of times, which I love. but I just know, and then I have I constrain it so when my 5-year-old's out of school, I'm usually done, or at least I'm pretty done with work, and still getting better. This is a 2025 thing. But at the same time, like it's having that knowing mentally, okay, I want to be present, my goals from like years and years past, but now that it's here, I'm putting it into practice and sleep or no sleep, I got to do it. I got to show up and be my best. And, people rely on me, but it starts with my family here. So yeah, that was a mindset plus tactical kind of thing.
Right. And that's I'm glad you mentioned that, because as entrepreneurs, it's at the end of the day, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate. At the end of the day, you have a list of things that you need to do, and there's never going to be a time where it's all checked off.
No.
So many years ago, it was like, oh gosh, I didn't get this done or that done or that done. There is never going to be a day where it's like, I got everything done. It's not, it doesn't happen. And there was something on social media where it showed that the person checked things off their list, but they sent an email to somebody. So that's checked off their list. But 10 seconds later, the person responds. So now they have to respond to them. And it's putting all of that into perspective. It's like you said, you're done. Your daughter, when she's 5, if she's done, you're done for the day.
Yeah.
It's really setting ourselves up for, and again, with the RVers, they're traveling. A lot of them are entrepreneurs, but even if they're not, how do you look at the year and say, okay, what can I do to be more present, to be, all of those things that, so I want to make sure I'm more present. When I first started RVing, we had a plan of where we wanted to go. And I'm looking at this plan and we're getting to the location and I'm thinking about the next location, the next plan, the next place. And what am I going to do 3 months after that? And after a little while, I went, wait a minute, I'm not here, present, enjoying it. Like you got to enjoy the journey, especially as an RVer.
Are you a natural planner, Patti?
I am.
Yeah.
So much so. Like so much so.
My wife's the same.
Yeah, I'm always saying, so if there's an event or something that's happening, it's like, okay, what does that look like? I need to know what the whole story is, what the whole plan is.
No mysteries, no surprises.
No, well, but so I think so for me, being a planner, I went to college, became a teacher, was a teacher for 20 years. I knew when I had to work, when I didn't. Like it was a scheduled thing.
Yeah.
And so, if it wasn't something in the plan, it really threw me. Well, there's something like COVID hitting, plans are out the window, deciding on going down the RV life, plans out the window. And so I've learned to embrace it. And now when somebody says, hey, do you want to come to a party? Yes, I have questions, but there is this letting go. So let me go back. I want to go back and tell the story of what happened this year. Before I do that, let me get one of my great sponsors. This show is able to continue because of my incredible sponsors, and all of my sponsors are products or services that I truly believe in. It is cold. We were just talking about the weather. It's been in the 20s here in the Philadelphia area, which is unusually cold. And people like to, RV in the winter. I don't understand it. But for my RV listeners that want to be in the winter, I highly recommend hassle-free RV skirting that inflates, and that is air skirts. They are RV skirting that goes around the perimeter of your RV and prevents the warm air from escaping. It uses trapped air as a natural insulator. It protects your pipes from freezing and causing damage. It saves on heating costs, and it's a heavy-duty military-grade PVC coated canvas. It sets up in minutes, no drilling, none of that. Deflates quickly and compact. So for my RVers that worry about storage space, this is a great solution. Air Skirts is giving $200 off. Just use RV POD, RV Pod, You go to airskirts.com, RVPOD for $200 off. And I really appreciate the discounts they give my listeners. So, you talk about change, and the only thing consistent in life is change. And so I have learned to embrace it because I've had a lot of stuff kind of thrown at me. And for some of my listeners, back in April, Dan became ill. He was in the hospital for a week. And within that week, I was told that he was not going to get better. So he is cognitively impaired, and in a care facility. And so, that really doesn't work well with the planner in me. And when I'm looking to reflect on 2024 and having something so challenging and so difficult that happened, I'm not going to minimize it. And there were days I just wanted to quit, roll into a hole, give up. There was a lot of crying, a lot of just, whatever you could imagine, it happened. And how do you get through those? How do I reflect on 2024 and still say, I could see the good in the year. I could have gratitude for the things that have happened. I could learn lessons out of what happened. I mean, can you share? I'm putting you on the spot, but I know that I can look back at the stuff that has happened and still say 2024 was a darn good year. And I'm grateful for so much of what happened in spite of.
Before you put the spotlight on me, I mean, I want to learn from you. Like, is there something new out of your years and like going through this situation? And of course, it's one of many you've experienced out of your lifetime, but it's a different flavor, of course. Like, what is like, I don't have the perfect question, but is there some big aha that's come out of your reflections and experience this year that you can take in the next year and beyond?
And I think the biggest thing for me that I've learned over the last several years, and the word is surrender. And just to explain what I mean by that, I think there are things in life that I can control. I think there are things in anybody's life that we have some control over. I think those things are a lot smaller in the amount of what we have control over than we believe. And so the things that I could change, control, can affect, great. But the things that I can't, I had no control over what happens to another human being, what they do, how they respond, whether or not they become disabled, whatever that is. And to be able to surrender and let go of that. And for some people, what I'm saying is going to land in very different ways. And I'm going to invite any of my listeners that are like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, whatever reactions people are having right now, reach out. They could comment on the podcast platform, go to my social media, RV Life Podcast at Instagram and Facebook, because I want to hear this from people, because I have had a lot of challenges in life and I have learned how to let go. The bottom line is letting go of the things I can't change. I don't have control over. And that's the word surrender. And there's a lot of great books I've read about that. Yeah. I want to say that's probably the biggest thing. It doesn't mean you're not sad. It doesn't mean there wasn't crying. It doesn't mean there wasn't a ton of emotion all over the place. And I am I could look at that part or look at the part where I'm so grateful for the friends and family, the RV community that came together and showed support in a way that I never would have known, expected, thought could happen.
Cool. That's beautiful. It's perfect.
Thank you.
It is. And I fully agree with the whole surrender thing. I mean, I lost my father-in-law about almost this time last year, a little earlier. But, there's been after effects of that and changes and not being around for my granddaughter. And before my 5-year-old, I lost my dad, like literally 2 weeks before. So it's this weird second thing happening. I don't know if we talked about that before, but it's this surrendering is huge, and realizing, like you mentioned, a key point is you can only control so much, and it's a lot less than you think. And that's how I think, like perfect scenario is like, okay, great. It's a whole different metaphor, but it's like you get in a car accident, for instance, or someone else does. Well, you technically chose to drive down that street, so you controlled that and you got in the car for whatever reason, but things happen. You can't control it. But that's like, you could take that whole concept anywhere in life, and so do the best you can, slow things down and
Exactly.
surrender. Yeah.
And what I believe we do have control over, and what I look at this past year, and I have so much, in spite of what happened, to be grateful for. And when you're in that dark moment, it's hard to see the things you're grateful for. So
Mhm.
it was interesting. I lived in Las Vegas for 3 years.
Yeah.
They have sunshine something like 287 days of the year. Like,
At
so most of
least.
the year is sunny.
Yeah.
And I'm in a store and it's raining, which is rare. And somebody's like, "Oh, it's raining." And I thought to myself, the rain is so you could appreciate the sunny days.
Hmm.
And so it's really being able to look at those things, is being able to look past the fact that it is raining here today, and just seeing something you can be grateful for, or that is positive, I'm going to say. And
Yeah.
so it's taken me a long time. It's been a lot of learning. And again, I think that's what we're looking to do. So this whole idea of mindset, call it what you want, personal growth, is a big part of what I look at for 2024. What do I look at? How did I grow? What did I learn? And here's the other big thing. In spite of everything that went on, celebrating the wins. I
Yeah.
mean, do you do things? You're shaking your head. So there's
Yeah, I do, but I don't always remember. And this is where my wife, Heather, I got to give her a ton of credit, because she recalibrates me when I'm feeling like I'm not doing enough, or I don't feel like I don't have enough for whatever reason, whatever form that comes in. Um, she'll remind me of, really, you realize all the things that you've done just today alone, but this week, this year, the last decade, and I think about that, and when I slow myself down and celebrate those things, which again I don't do often enough, but we need to celebrate those things. Like Tim Ferriss, if you ever follow
Mhm,
him
yeah.
and stuff, yeah, he was, I'm pretty sure it was him. He has like a gratitude, or at least used to, like this bucket basically, or this jar, where every time you celebrate something positive, you write it on a little piece of paper and you throw it in the jar. And we used to do that. I'm going to bring it back now, because we still have the jar, but my wife and I don't actively do that. And I thought it was the coolest thing, because anytime you're in the dumps, you shove your hand down in there and you look at it. And that was something you celebrated at one point in your life.
I
And
love that idea. And
it's
how
so cool.
great you could do
Yeah,
that now with your 5-year-old.
absolutely. Actually, that's a
Yeah.
great idea. Like,
Yeah.
hey, let's do an activity together,
Right.
And
Because I think it's these things that people are starting to teach kids. I
Mhm.
have a lot of RV listeners that are traveling with kids,
Yeah,
and
cool.
ways to sort of teach kids the things that we're talking about, that I certainly didn't learn as a kid,
Mhm.
but without just sitting down and trying to teach it. I think you
Just do
teach
it.
kids by doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You show
And
them by
playful,
doing.
right? Being
Right.
play. Yeah.
And celebrating wins for me used to be, oh, we'd open a bottle of champagne and it'd be the big things. First of
Sure.
all, I really don't care for champagne. Now,
I don't think many people do.
I think you're right. I did find one that's a little sweeter. You put some
Uh-huh.
strawberries in it, it makes it
Okay,
so
yeah.
much
There's
better.
some good ones, but yeah, you're right.
There's
It's
some
usually
good ones.
flavored up.
Um, but I've learned that celebrating the wins, what it looked like for me, and taking time out. And it doesn't have to be these huge successes. I believe my suggestion is that we do it, the little wins.
Mhm.
Sometimes, look, in the thick of what I was going through, sometimes just getting through the day without breaking down and being able to go out and enjoy the day was a win. So
Count it. Yeah.
yay me, own it. Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
exactly. Wow, a lot
That's good.
here. And I know there's a lot. We still have time in this episode. I know there's a lot we want to give people moving into 2025. Um, And this is an interesting episode because it is a two-parter. So we are
I
going
like
to
it.
talk about, yeah, I'm loving this and I hope it's helping my listeners. And I'm going to suggest they reach out to you and or
Please.
me. Where can people reach you while we're talking about it?
You can find me on the socials. Pretty much every platform is just my name, first name, last name, Joefier, Joe Fier. And feel free to email me directly. If you heard me here, I will just give you my email. It's joe@hustleandflowchart.com. And Hustle and
Okay.
Flowchart is my podcast that you've referenced that, it's pretty easy to find me and stalk me down if you need to get a hold.
Right.
I would love
Uh,
to hear from you. It's not need to. I would love
Exactly.
to. Yeah,
And I'll put that in the show notes. And I think
please.
that's a good thing too. I think people look at the influencers, the podcast hosts, they're,
Mm,
above. I don't
not at all.
feel that
Yeah.
way. I've had people say, "Oh, I saw you in an event, but I didn't want to come up and bother you." No, come say
That
hi. Like,
is the
please.
moment.
Yes, yeah, I'd love that. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
true.
we're going to talk a little more. We still have more to talk about in this episode. Let me talk about an event that I will be at in May. I know that's a little ways away. Um, May is my birthday month, so it's a special one. I've
Yes.
started celebrating that too. Talk about celebrating. Like
Good.
for my
Yeah.
birthday, I used to pretend it's not important. It didn't exist. Conversation probably for another time. Maybe
So
we'll
many
dive
people
in.
write it off though. It's like you're writing yourself
But
off.
yes,
Come on.
it's true.
Mhm.
I and there's a lot around that. Like, oh, I'm not important enough, so my birthday's not. No. I'm
Right.
already thinking this year what I want to do for my birthday. So that's another intention plan for 2025. So
Good.
we'll talk
You
about
are the
that.
most important person on this planet. It has to start with you.
I love that. So
Yes,
we'll
it's true.
talk about how to do that in the next episode. That's a
Cool.
great, because I think a lot of people do that. But if you're looking for a place to shop for 2025 motorhomes, the Music City Motorhome Expo, it is the second annual event. It takes place May 31st to June 1st. No, May 31st to June 4th, I believe. It's 5 days. I'll get those dates settled. And it is the event of the year. This will be my second year I will be attending. There will be all the major manufacturers. You will have time to enjoy test rides. You will get 3 meals a day, two amazing entertainers. This is an incredible event to go to. It's called Music City Motorhome Expo, and you can find out everything at musiccitymotorhomeexpo.com or NIRVC.com. So it's National Indoor RV Centers, which I am a big fan of them. All right. So we are going to wrap this episode up, and we're going to start wrapping up. I want people to know that next week's episode, we are going to dive into how to set up 2025, but
Right.
we are not done yet. It's time for the question of the week, and it's brought to you by My Open Roads. My Open Roads has Open Roads fuel card. Anybody that needs diesel fuel, this is the card that will save you money every time you go to get diesel fuel. The card is free to sign up for. Get the card in the mail, activate it. You have an app that shows you all of the gas stations that you can fill up with, and you will save money every time you fill up. Open Roads also has something rather new, and that's the innovative toll solution. And this toll pass covers all 48 states. This is an incredible toll pass for anybody that does any traveling, covers all 48 states. They have concierge service. So should you have a problem, they are going to help you with it. Open Roads, I have the links for both of these in the show notes. Go to the links to get signed up for those two incredible services. My question for you is, what is on your bucket list? Something that you've done or something that you are looking to do in 2025?
Oh man.
I
I
know I'm putting
gotta
you on the spot.
You totally are, and I love it. So the bucket list, oh man. I don't know if we'll do it before my daughter's two, but I really want to spend, I feel like I said this maybe in our last episode too, but at least 3 months, maybe 6 months over in Spain. actually is specifically where
Oh,
I would love to spend time. And it's this, and this is because my wife and I, like beforehand, we would do a lot of adventuring and traveling. We never actually we did a lot of road tripping, but never officially in an RV. But and I think it is on the bucket list for us, but maybe that comes before Spain just because of the ages, and I'll explain. But I want to have a 2-year-old. I think it'd be a lot easier to then adapt to, at least for a good chunk of time, in a different culture, a different setting, something that different pace. There's a lot of reasons, and I've been to Spain a couple times and absolutely adore it. And there's just things in the American pace that I feel like I'm just like, oof. You need a reset button sometimes, and that one definitely gave it to me. But I want like 3 to 6 months, and then
wow,
take
that's
my family
incredible.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's incredible. And for, again, our next episode, we're going to talk about bucket list items, setting
cool.
intentions, and how to make those happen. But
Yeah,
it's now time for the feature campground of the week, and it's brought to you by RV Life Pro. Journey with confidence with RV Life Pro's suite of products. I've had the RV Life Pro suite of products since before I started in an RV because it is absolutely a must-have. This week's feature campground is Okeechobee, and if I'm saying that wrong, one of my
I
listeners
think
can
that's right.
correct me. Oh, okay.
I
It's
think.
Okeechobee KOA Resort in Okeechobee, Florida. And it's funny to say that. This is a 1,000 trails resort with 750 sites. It is just beautiful, well manicured, well maintained RV resort with so much to offer, and it's close to the breathtaking Lake Okeechobee. They do offer full hookups, pull-in sites, pet areas, and rentals are available. Okeechobee KOA Resort has a solid 7.6 rating on the RV Life Campgrounds with 90 reviews. And it is so easy to book your site here because you go to campgrounds.rvlife.com, search Okeechobee KOA Resort, and you will see all the pictures, you'll see all the amenities, you'll see everything this property has to offer. Going to campgrounds.rvlife.com, you could see RV parks, campgrounds, resorts, city, state, national parks. The campgrounds.rvlife.com is the most comprehensive source of all of these types of places. I highly recommend visiting campgrounds.rvlife.com. Okay. Now, I want to make sure my listeners tune in to part 2, where Joe will join me again and we'll explore actionable tips and powerful insights to set success for the new year. And that'll be on day 1, month 1, day 1 of 2025. Yes, it's day 1. And you guys can reach out to Joe for by going to hustleandflowchart.com, his socials. You could go to his socials and ask him questions. His email, he even offered up his email so you could reach out to him directly. So anybody listening, let me know ideas and thoughts for 2025. I am open to seeing how 2025 can be better on the RV Life podcast. Now, today, for the first time, people are hearing the new tagline. And here it is. And I want people's thoughts on this. Life is a journey. Live each day to the fullest without regrets. I'm Patti Hunt, and you have been listening to the RV Life Podcast.